Hi everyone, Shane Fleming here, another video to add to my series. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the coronavirus and how it can impact on the property market. I actually debated about making this video or not. It's been something that's been on my mind for the last week or two, but in the last few days I have got some direct messages in on mainly Instagram asking me about what my views and what my thoughts are on the coronavirus and how it will actually impact the real estate market. So I've decided to put this video together. It really is just my initial thoughts on how it could impact the property market, mainly here in Ireland, but also around the world. They are initial thoughts. I think those thoughts and my view will actually change on a daily basis. I put some thoughts down yesterday in regards to, before I made this video, I jotted down a few ideas on a piece of paper about my thoughts before I sat down and made this video, but I actually as of 20 minutes ago, half an hour ago, reading more articles, my actual thoughts and views actually have slightly changed again. So I think it's a very fluid situation we're in at the moment. The more information we have in terms of it, the more tests are done, the actual better we'll understand and actually how this virus will actually impact the economy. So if you are watching this video and you are interested in real estate investing or working in the property market, make sure you subscribe because I do put out regular videos with some useful insight. Also, if you are based in Ireland, I've recently formed a group to help young people who are interested in getting involved in the real estate market, either if that's working or investing in it. So if you are interested in joining such a group, make sure you watch to the end and I'll let you know how you can join. There are actually loads of factors that can impact the real estate market, from interest rates to employment rates to investment from public and private bodies, as well as trade wars. All of these can have a major impact on the real estate market as a whole. Changes in how we build, how we live, how we shop can all have major impacts on different sectors within the real estate market as well. The growth in online shopping has absolutely destroyed the retail market in some countries. This is actually can be seen where there's lots of vacant malls around America. Sometimes their best source of income is actually renting them out as movie studios. And a perfect example of this is on Stranger Things 3, where most of it was shot in a vacant mall in Atlanta. And the studio actually felt that rather than building a whole new set, it would actually be cheaper to just rent them all. However, the growth of online shopping has also led to the growth in demand for industrial units for storage and also for parcel delivery companies. So where one might go up, the other one might go down. So you have to always bear in mind how these things will impact one another, different sectors. The office market has also shifted over recent years. There has been a huge growth in serviced offices. The likes of WeWork and other companies like that have really kind of grown into the sector and have dominated some of the recent lettings in the office market, and it has changed the way companies will actually view their property and view taking leases, in terms of they're no longer taking 25-year leases, they're actually taking far more flexible leases. So that has an impact on the office market in terms of how you value properties, because you're not quite sure the certainty of rent anymore with these service companies. The housing market has been impacted by Airbnb, changes in build costs, planning rules, the need for different types of properties. We're no longer needing 4 and 5 bedroom houses. What's actually needed now is more along the lines of kind of 1 and 2 beds, and the planners and the developers haven't quite caught up with that. So there's a gap in the market, but there's also means that there's inefficiencies within the market as well, which has led to difficulties within the housing market. So each sector of the real estate market, from residential, office, industrial, retail, can all be impacted in different ways. They can be impacted from an international point of view. They can be impacted just on a national level or a local level, and they can also be impacted by changes in the society and how we actually operate. So generally, as a rule of thumb, it's important to understand how these trends can impact different sectors of the real estate market. And when buying real estate, it's important to plan out the medium and long term future of whatever asset class you're thinking about buying. So that's what I kind of want to kind of focus on kind of within this video, is actually when you're buying real estate, you have to really think about the medium term and the long term prospect of that property and what could impact that particular sector you're investing in. So how will the coronavirus impact property? This might be actually a bit too early to tell to see how actually what the impacts will be. There definitely will be some short-term impacts. Levels of construction will drop, mainly because construction workers won't be on site. Also, there'll be a drop off in supply in regards to building materials. They won't be able to get it from certain countries. So there definitely will be a slowdown in activity in terms of construction. But in terms of looking at it from an investment point of view, hopefully Corona will be a short-term issue that the world has to deal with. And when looking at property, it should always be to the medium to the long term. So I think that's what most seasoned investors will think about, is it still a long term or is it still a good medium term investment, rather than thinking about it as a short term up or down in the market over the next few months. However, there are already reports coming out from the US that levels of demand for warehousing and storage units have dropped dramatically. This is probably two reasons for this. One is there is a lack of need to store products right now because they're being sold quickly, and also the other reason is there's no supply. So there's no supply coming in from China, so therefore there's no need to hold on to storage space at the moment, because there's nothing to store, because there's no supply chains at the moment coming in from Europe or coming in from China. So therefore the US market has dropped, demand has dropped dramatically for warehousing and storage, and that's mainly to do with supply chain issues. So you'd hope that that's only a short-term drop in demand, mainly because once the supply chain picks up, that demand will increase. But given what we've seen with some companies, with like the likes of Jaguar, who have actually ran out of some small parts for some of their electric cars and have actually had to shut down production altogether of their electric cars, companies will actually probably go out and invest in more storage in the future, to make sure that if there is issues like this in the future where supply chain drops, that they will have backup storage, and they will have a number of months of supply to be able to deal with a global issue like this. I think it got so bad for Jaguar that they were actually sending people over to China and filling their suitcases up with small microchips that they needed for their key rings or something that they needed to get their electric cars to work. And obviously that can only work for a week or two, and that was not a long-term solution. So they had to shut down their whole production. So these problems that companies will be facing now, they'll look for solutions, and one of the solutions will be increased demand in storage, and that will happen probably pretty quickly after we get over this virus. So the office market had been trending towards serviced offices, likes of WeWork and likes of other companies like that. So more and more companies were going towards serviced offices. I think this virus will give some companies the opportunity to test what work from home looks like. I don't think many companies will go that route completely, but it may allow them to go 3 days, 4 days, possibly serviced office locations around in different cities, depending on where their workforce needs to be. So it could have a positive or negative impact on it. If it works for companies, great. They might start deciding let's keep doing this, and let's keep this movement going forward to a less dependency on a large massive head office and more serviced office type leases where they're not stuck at one location for a long period of time. Or if it doesn't work and people don't work well at home, they could actually start backtracking and going, actually, no, we need to go back to the old model where we have a permanent head office and all our staff are going to be there working 5 days a week. So from a development point of view and an investment point of view into offices, Realistically, obviously, there will be a little bit of a slowdown over the next few months, mainly on the construction side, and there will be people who will delay making decisions in terms of large scale investment or large scale developments. But if we get over this pretty quickly, I can see that there will be an appetite for people to continue to invest in the office market. The issue will be if this drags on way too long, then and we hit a recession, then there might be some people who decide to hold off. But that will depend on how long actually this virus takes to actually get a handle of. The hotel sector has been absolutely booming recently, very hot, very hard to get any deals for hotels. If you're looking at sites or you're looking at investing in hotels, it's very competitive market. But obviously this virus has hit hotels and has hit airlines massively. Important thing for the hotels will be that this doesn't last too long, and that the airlines survive and get up and running as quickly as they possibly can, because the hotels will not be able to survive on a domestic market alone, and they will need the airlines to be coming back with deals to go to cities all over the place. So it's important that both of those things happen quickly to make sure that there is no job losses in these sectors. But it depends on how quick we can deal with this situation. But from an Irish point of view, in hotels, the HSE are looking for 100 beds. I think some hotels will believe that there will be a bit of stigma involved if they give their hotel over to the HSE. But given the fact that this is going to impact so many people, I actually don't think the stigma is going to be that bad. So if hotels are interested in kind of saving themselves and earning an income during this process or during this crisis, dealing with governments and dealing with hospitals is probably one way they can actually save their businesses. So what most people are probably interested in knowing about is the residential market and how the coronavirus will actually impact the residential market. It's probably too early to say. In the short term though, there definitely will be some impact to the market in terms of there will be a lack of bids. That lack of bids will probably be due more so down to the fact that agents won't be showing these properties. They won't be working. They'll be working from home. There may be some virtual tours organised and so on, but there will be definitely a drop off in bids because people will just naturally want to see how this plays out over the next few weeks. There will also be a lack of supply. Many agents should be telling their clients to hold off putting their property on the market while this is on. But if people are expecting to see a dramatic drop in price because of this crisis, I can't see that happening. Generally speaking, what happens in a downturn environment is the property prices are very slow to react. There's two reasons for this. Sellers don't want to sell at a reduced price based on the fact that a market could dip. So they will be very reluctant to reduce their price, or they'll just take their property off the market completely. So there's generally a delayed reaction and prices dropping. So if anyone thinks that, oh, I'm going to pick up a great deal in the next 2 or 3 weeks, like you might pick up 1 or 2, but in terms of the overall market, it's not going to drop dramatically because people are going to adopt the approach of wait and see. So any sellers and agents are just going to adopt the approach of wait and see what happens over the next few weeks or months. Generally speaking, the property market, the residential property market, there's always a lag to it. I remember years and years ago, that lag was probably about 6 months. It may not be that long now, but there definitely will be a lag to this. If this crisis is resolved in a few weeks or months, there may not be any significant difference in terms of values of properties. If this crisis goes on a number of months and actually has a recession kicks in, then I think actually property prices will drop, but that won't happen immediately. It will be over the course of 6 to 9 months where we'll see that drop. It will not happen in the next few weeks. And I suppose this is kind of also important in terms of a long-term point of view. You kind of always have to remember when you're buying residential properties, you need to think about it from a long-term or medium-term point of view. You can't be thinking about it in weeks or months. It has to be what your view of the property will be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So the recent moves by the government in the last kind of few days by both the Irish government, the US government, some of the European governments have, I suppose, got me thinking that like hopefully this won't be as bad as I initially thought it might be. I do think we're nowhere near the worst of this. I think this is going to get dramatically worse over the next few weeks. And people need to realise that, and people should be self-isolating regardless if they have symptoms or not. I think the best way to stop this spreading is actually just not to go out at all. I have certainly been trying to do my best and my part in that, but I think from where I see this happening, or what I see happening over the next kind of few weeks, it will really dictate what actually, or how bad of an impact it will have on the property market. I do think that the European Union are going to do everything in their power once we're over this to provide a massive stimulus pack. They will have to get Italy and probably now Spain out of a massive hole that they're going to be in. And I would, as Europeans, suggest that maybe we do go to holidays in Italy when this is all over, because they're going to be in a massive recession regardless now at this point, and we just need to make sure that their recession doesn't spread to the rest of Europe. From a US point of view and a China point of view, China are 100%, once we're over this, is going to flood the market with money and get investment going in China. From the US point of view, Donald Trump has an election on his mind. I don't know if he cares about much else, to be honest with you. But I do know he cares about winning that election, and what he will do to win that election is he will put everything he can to make sure there's a massive stimulus pack in the US to drive investment and drive the economy to make sure there isn't a recession. So with all of those things in mind, I feel that if we can get over this, and that means everyone playing their part and not spreading this any further than it is, if we can get over this within the next few months, I actually think we'll come out of it stronger and better, because there will be so much more investment coming in from government bodies to make sure we don't fall into another recession. If it takes longer to get over this and we drag our heels and we don't act quick enough, what will happen is we will definitely go into recession, and it will then take far longer for us to get out of it, and it will not be a recession like we had back in 07 or 08, 09, 010. I think this is something, because it's not debt fueled and it's not it's an actual I suppose a virus. I do think we'll get out of it quicker in terms of how fast we move out of this recession. So in terms of actually how we move forward as an industry once we get over this virus, I do think there will be people who are innovative and entrepreneurial and will adapt and create new ways of thinking in terms of how we actually deal with these viruses in the future. There'll be plenty of innovations on multiple different industries, but I think from a property industry, there will be innovations as well. There'll be more of our buildings, more of our public buildings will have automatic doors. Buttons for opening doors or buttons for lifts will change. I think there will be someone who will come up with technology for surfaces that won't hold on to germs for as long as they can hold on to them at the moment. So, and I think there'll be innovations and opportunities for lots of different businesses within the industry, and I think we will learn from this and we will grow from this. So I do think this is going to be a very difficult time for lots of different people. Some more be harder for others, but it is something that we definitely will be able to get over, and we will be able to, as a world and as a nation, we will be able to get over this and move forward. But it will be very difficult for some people, and I have no doubt there will be casualties. And I worry myself, and not for myself, but for people around me. So I think it's going to be a difficult time for everyone, and I think everyone should do their part. And I do believe that it's down to everyone. It's down to the simple things: washing your hands, making sure if you're feeling unwell that you're not going out, you're self-isolating. So I think it is important that everyone So if you've actually stayed watching me till the very end, fair juice, because I got a bit off track there towards the end. But I did say at the very start that I had set up a group for people who are interested in learning about getting involved in the property industry, if that's working in it or if that's actually investing in it. If you're based here in Ireland, I've set up a group. It's only set up a week or so, but if you're interested in joining, best way is to email me directly. I'll put my email in the comments below, and also if you want, you can reach out to me on Instagram, and again my details for Instagram will be below. But again, thanks for watching. Again, stay strong through this period. If anyone wants to chat, please give us a call or a text, because I think a lot of people will be self-isolating over the next few weeks, and it's good to kind of reach out to everyone.